Hello everyone, welcome to this message. As our first card, we get the Singer of Intuition, as you can see, and the next two cards I'm already going to show as well. And we have the War card and the Dark Lady that comes after that. So let's see. So it's kind of fascinating because I was uh, talking about this just yesterday, right? About inner knowing, and it says here God and inner knowing. So, and the story behind this image is that I once got this very strange advice, I guess, from God. That while I was very much under attack, I got the advice to eat a little bit of honey, right? And strangely enough, after I had consumed a spoon of honey, I it went away. The attack went away. So it was just kind of fascinating. So it has to do with like listening to, I guess, like unconventional advice, listening to, and also God speaking through inner knowings. Because this, although it is an inner knowing, it can be highly specific, that inner knowing. And so this was one of those inner knowings, right? That I never got. Yeah, I never got those, at least if I remember correctly. I don't think I ever got this inner knowing in the sense of that I heard it or something. It was just something that I knew I had to eat a spoon of honey, and after that, the problem was solved. So this inner knowing is, at least for me, it's incredibly highly developed. So it's like these can be entire downloads coming into an inner knowing, right? Which is really fascinating because this is a card of a download, right? The Singer of Intuition. So, yeah. And then we have the Page of Swords that goes with that. And the Page of Swords is a card for me about most definitely unconventional wisdom, because it is the rejection of book wisdom. So to reject anything that is within a book. And I think this message may pertain to that you have um, a rejection of a book, perhaps of a book wisdom. So maybe you came across a book wisdom and you're like, I'm rejecting that. That is not for me. And that is your inner knowing. That is your discernment telling you like that is not good advice. And maybe it could also be a message from God, like to leave the book wisdom behind, right? To go on a path of, like, this is kind of like learning from personal experience. So, for example, if you have come across a book wisdom, and this could be God saying, reject that book wisdom. There's a reason why you feel a certain way when you come across this kind of wisdom, and you're like, okay, I'm going to reject this book wisdom. Like, you will intuitively reject that kind of wisdom because it's not for you. And also, there is an inner knowing that you need to embrace your own wisdom, right? To go on a journey where you navigate your path based on the wisdom you have learned yourself. So the wisdom that came from having certain experiences and solving them yourself. So this is like your own path, your own wisdom. And there's most definitely also something about that the journey ahead needs to come from inner knowing, right? This idea about I will know what to do. So it could also be the rejection of societal wisdom and just trusting that you will know what to do, right? That there will be an inner knowing that comes from God, and that maybe, and it could also be an embracing of a path that is quite unusual, that is quite like this is quite an unconventional way of navigating the world. I don't my For my mind it doesn't make logical sense, for example, but maybe for your soul for your spirit, it does make logical sense, right? So follow those if you if your soul guides you in a certain direction, like follow it. That's pretty much what this is. Even if it doesn't make sense to you, because it may be quite healing to the soul, right? And also, honey has an idea in it of preservation, right? That there is honey doesn't spoil, right? Like it cannot get contaminated. Like it is very pure. It is so it could have something to do with preserving what is pure. So there could definitely be an element to this as well, that you will be able to preserve what is pure, right? What is pure about you, by following this unconventional path, right? By following your inner knowing. So an inner knowing could also talk about a soul knowing, right? So it could be if you ask your soul, like, what does my soul need? And the answer you get. And when you follow that answer, like, what does my soul need right now? What do I need right now? And you following that is your journey ahead. So yeah, so it is not just an advice, it's actually a journey that's being suggested. So it's a journey of following inner knowings that you are receiving from God. It is the embracing of your own life experiences and what it has taught you, and to navigate by that. And it is also to navigate by what your soul needs right now. So those are the three elements that will bring you back to perhaps like preserving what is pure. And yeah, there's something very beautiful about that kind of a journey that you may need to embrace right now. Also, maybe to have clarity upon the future as well. Maybe also to learn how to leave certain things behind. So it could be quite a healing journey, a journey of forgiveness as well. Could also be part of you following that path. So it will have a lot of effect. And then we have the singer of intuition. So let's see. Yeah. So this could also be a card that talks about aliens sometimes for me, because it has an alien at the top. Looks very much like an alien to me. So it could be that that there is something about connecting with aliens, perhaps. So so you could be getting a download, and like an extraterrestrial download, perhaps. It could be an idea of like connecting with extraterrestrial wisdom, perhaps. And also, what this talks about is like anything to do with um, something that is hitting Earth from beyond Earth, right? So it could be some kind of a, we bring these together. This could be wisdom. Maybe you were feeling guided to connect to an alien civilization. It's possible, and that this came from a divine inner knowing. So it could be that. So this could be like you following your inner knowing, and you go on this peculiar journey that doesn't really make sense, but it actually is a very healing journey, right? So it could be that. So if we just see it as like yesterday, it could just be like if you feel like you need to look something up and it's like rather unconventional, um, like you like just follow those, just follow that. Like if you want to look something up, then go and look that up, because there's something interesting there. So it's a good thing to follow those inspirations to if you get on unconventional inspirations, follow those inspirations is what God wants to say. Like follow those inspirations, because there's something in there for you. So even if you feel like looking something up, there's something, and you it is quite unconventional, it's quite different from your usual path, for example, then I guess like be open to that because there's something in there for you. Even if, like, for example, like eating a spoon of honey doesn't really make sense, like when you are under spiritual attack, like why would a spoon of honey work, right? But I did it, and as a result of that, like it went away immediately. So there's something about daring to follow an unconventional advice, unconventional paths. And this could also have something to do with that, right? So if you feel inspired to connect to it doesn't even have to be connect to an alien civilization. It could just be if you feel inspired to look up certain wisdom, there's something in there for you. That's what it wants to say. Like there is a wisdom there to be found. And you're going to be receiving knowings out of nowhere, because that's also a little bit this, right? These are like, this is like wisdom that comes out of nowhere. So you are likely going to have these wisdoms that will come out of nowhere in the upcoming future, quite likely. So I think that's also why that is being said here. And then we have the Ra card next. The Ra card has to do with, on the one hand, having a higher perspective. It also is connected to inner knowing, strangely enough, because the owl to me is a symbol of connecting deeply to your inner knowing. So I do think that it will give you perhaps a higher perspective on something to listen to your inner knowing. Um, there's something fascinating about this journey that you may want to be on, because this is your journey right now. And it is also a card of destiny, right? So there's something about that this is destined to be, that this wisdom that you will be, that this path, I would just call this path of inner knowing, this path of inner knowing, this path of you asking your soul, like, what does my soul need right now? And actually giving that to your soul, um, of having like having inner knowings that you follow up on, that you listen to, that you deeply listen to yourself and your own inner wisdom, right? Which is actually divine wisdom. And also that you follow these unusual inspirations. Yeah, and that you trust yourself, that you trust your inner knowing about things. Because that's the journey. Like it's kind of like what God wants to say, like if you want to connect with me right now, connect with yourself in a sense, because it's like um when you are asking yourself, like, what does my soul need right now? You're tapping into that, right? And that's where the guidance is. The divine guidance is there. Like, what does my soul need right now? What does my inner knowing tell me about the situation? What do I think I should do right now? What do I think my next step should be? And like listen to that, because that's how God is speaking to you at this moment in time. And it could also be that God is speaking to you through these unusual inner knowings. Like, I think I'm supposed to do this, look this up. That's God guiding you, right? So yeah, so it's a path of most definitely inner knowing that just appears out of nowhere, right? And also a journey of you deeply connecting with yourself as well, right? So let's see. And then we have the Dark Lady as our next card. So there's something here about suppressing. So maybe you are suppressing this, and I think God wants to say, like, you don't want to suppress this. You don't want to suppress this inner knowing or this journey. It is because it is a valuable journey for you to be on right now. So yeah, so maybe also if you have been asking this question, perhaps, right? Can I trust my inner knowing? Then the answer is very, very clearly like, yes, you can trust your inner knowing. You don't. You don't need to put your inner knowing down, right? So you could see it also as that. You don't have to put your inner knowing down. You don't need to suppress your inner knowing here, right? So no, listen to it. Listen to what your soul needs right now. To listen to what your inner knowing is telling you about the next step, what the next step for you should be. Like, what should I do right now? What do I think I should do right now? And like really, really listen, because that's the journey ahead for you. That's the path you're supposed to be on right now. And these two are also connected because you have seven and then you have five and two. So again, seven, seven, seven. So this is connected to each other. You are you're destined to follow your intuition, but your intuition isn't inner knowing. So you're destined to follow an inner knowing right now. And it's like this wisdom, like, I don't know why I know this, but I know this, right? There's a deep inner knowing inside of me, but I don't really know where this is coming from, but I just know that I need to do this, or I just know that this is the next step for me, or I just know that I need to leave the situation, for example, or I just know that this is over, or it could be anything, right? Any kind of knowing that appears, that is coming from God. So don't suppress that journey, because it is your journey right now. And then we have the singer of connection. So I also think that this is a point of contact, right? So you could see it as both these cards have something to do with a point of contact. And this also, it could pertain to the bridge between God and you, right? So if you want to make this connection with God, this is the way that you can connect, right? This is the way to connect right now. That's pretty much what this is talking about. Listen to your inner knowing, because that's how God is connecting to you right now. So you need to deeply listen to yourself and to your own inner wisdom, right? And then we have the She of the Kruak. So what could this mean? She of the Kruak. Maybe we could, well, it could be a card of nurturing yourself. So maybe this is if you want to move forward, you need to nurture yourself right now. So really listen to your inner knowing, to what your soul needs, because that's the way to move forward. And maybe your inner knowing has a higher perspective on this. Maybe your inner knowing has a higher perspective upon how exactly you are supposed to heal. There could be a higher wisdom here, right? A higher wisdom upon how exactly you should be, how you can how you can best nurture yourself in order to move forward on your destined journey. So that's pretty much what you're doing right now. So don't be divided about that. That's the journey you just need to be on right now. And again, very interesting, 6 and 5. And then we have 5 and 6 here as well. So these two are connected as well, the Gloom Doom. So there's something about that you'll be connecting to God by nurturing yourself and by listening to your inner knowing. To trust yourself, right? To guide yourself and to guide yourself based on this deep inner knowing you have about things, because that's God talking to you, right? And it could also indicate that maybe God is going to be incredibly silent in the upcoming time and is going to be primarily or maybe solely talking to you through that inner knowing, right? So that could be the journey that you're on right now. And Gloominess Doom has something to do with like pus, like when you need to like puncture something to so the pus comes out, right? So it's kind of a gross image, but it's like in order to heal, this needs to happen somehow. So whatever, if there is like anything that you have suppressed, for example, anything that has been suppressed needs to come out. The pus needs to come out of that wound, right? So if as long as you kind of like I don't know, like you have like this water around it, right? Like you sometimes see over a wound. And it's kind of like to protect that wound so that it can. It could also talk about that. Like maybe it has something to do with that. That you need to put a protective bubble around a wound in order for it to heal, just like you would with a blister, for example. So maybe you're also feeling that, like, I need to. Um, the only way to heal this wound is to protect myself from feeling this wound, or like even it could be that a book, for example, right? Book wisdom tells you that you shouldn't be doing this, right? So a book wisdom could say, like, no, you need to look at the wound, you need to look at the pain, while your inner wisdom may be saying, no, I think this journey is a journey where I actually don't need to look at this pain. Like, what I need is this little bit of water around the wound in order, just like so that it can heal similarly to how a blister heals, right? It needs to be healed in a protective environment. So it could be that you may need um, to heal yourself within a protected environment, to heal. Maybe it has to do with that this is the specific condition with it, in which this particular wound can heal, right? So don't suppress don't suppress this way of approaching things, right? So listen to your inner wisdom is what this wants to say. And at the bottom of the deck, we have the Guardian at the Gate. So, which also has to do with subconscious suppression. So, usually usually this is considered to be a negative thing, right? Like in popular culture, like the general advice would be to always look at the shadow, right? To always look at whatever you are suppressing, to always look at the wounds, right? But this wound may be a wound that can only be healed exactly by protecting yourself from it, by guarding yourself from it. So it could be that this is a wound that actually needs to be suppressed in order to heal. Very similarly to that, this is a wound that can't, that as long as it is, if you keep on opening this bubble, you could say, right, this protective bubble, once you open it, like it won't make the wound better. In this particular case, this is a wound that won't heal like that. This is a wound that will only heal if it is not touched, if it is not being hurt again, right? So this is a journey where the typical journey of shadow work, looking at it, feeling the hurt, feeling the pain, is not a good idea. This is a wound that needs to rest, right? It is a wound that needs to be untouched, you could say. And if you untouch it, this is kind of like a wound that heals with time, right? And this wound can only be healed with time if it isn't touched for a while, right? I think there probably are certain wounds, and it's also very interesting that honey is doing the exact same thing. Honey is putting like a layer over a wound, right, temporarily, so that it can actually be protected from external forces, you could say, like a bacteria, for example, right? It keeps the bacteria out of the wound and it puts this protective layer over it so it can heal underneath it. So there's something about that you need this protective layer in order to heal. So I think this talks about that this is, yes, it is unconventional wisdom, but this is a wound that needs to not be looked at. This is a wound that needs to be forgotten, you could say, right? And if it is like if you can forget it, if you just don't touch it, if you don't feel it, this is a wound that should not be felt in order to heal, which is quite unusual in terms of advice, but it is the right advice in this case. So, and this is so keep yourself from feeling it, I would say, avoid it. So we have the guardian at the gate. Um, which is that subconscious guardian, right? It is that subconscious guardian that says like, okay, you come until here, and then a protective mechanism goes is set in motion, and you won't be accessing these memories, you won't be going deeper than that. This is a protective measure that you may want to install for yourself, pretty much, and it is in divine alignment with this number 3, right? Like it is in divine alignment for you to do this. So this is a wound that should not be touched, that should not be looked at, and we have this idea of self neglect. In this particular case, I do think that neglecting yourself, it's a very weird advice, but this is, you could call that a form of kind of like self neglect in the sense that you are choosing the comfortable path as well because this is comfort food, right? So you may want to choose the comfortable path for once, because the comfortable path could be a healing path. So if you always choose discomfort, this is a time to choose comfort. This is a time to comfort yourself. And also, these fries make me think about like really nurturing yourself with food, for example, right? Which is also something that we don't actually think is good advice, right? Like stuffing yourself down with food is not a good idea. But this is that journey. This is the journey where a wound will heal with junk food, for example, right? Where you are feeling certain emotions. And while this is something that you normally is not a good advice, is normally quite toxic to do, this is a time to actually stuff it down, quite literally. This is the time to feel bad and to say, I'm going to make myself a hamburger to feel better, right? Or even if it's a vegan hamburger, it doesn't matter, right? But like it is, this is a time for you to actually heal yourself with comfort food, to actually feel that comfort in your body and heal yourself through this. It is a time of ignoring wounds, like to just be like, okay, I'm going to see this wound as something that needs protection, that needs this layer of honey over it, right? Because it is a wound that should not be touched by the world for a while, and then it shall heal, but otherwise it won't heal. So there's something about choose the comfortable path. Don't choose discomfort, because discomfort is not going to heal you in this case. And book wisdom isn't going to heal you. Conventional wisdom isn't going to heal you. This is a very particular journey, you could say. So if you feel like eating something to feel better, then just eat something to feel better, right? Just listen to your inner wisdom when it comes to these things. Like usually this is not a good idea, but in this particular case, this may be actually be a good idea. And you could say that it is a form of self-neglect in a way, because which is seen as something that is negative, right? So choosing the comfortable path is considered negative, right? But this is that journey. This is also that journey mm, of neglecting yourself, in the sense that you don't look at this wound. That you choose to actively choose not to look at this wound, because this is a wound that needs to not be looked at in order to heal. And then we have as our last card the Six of Pentacles. So the Six of Pentacles has something to do with giving and receiving. So I do think there are certain situations where there is no such thing as giving and receiving, you could say, right? Could just talk about like there's also a sense here about also setting it down. So it could be something like a little bit of a bit more selfish journey as well, because there's something here about maybe you have been giving a lot, and maybe this is a journey that should be quite selfish in a way, which is also unconventional advice. It's also a very unconventional path that is not usually regarded as a good thing, because people usually say you need to be selfless in order like, give to people in order to heal. This is not a time to give to people in order to heal. This is a time of or neglecting yourself or putting yourself aside completely. No, this is a time of receiving, of you ignoring other people and to give, ignore other people and give to yourself, because there's something about there is a soul wisdom here, a higher wisdom here that looks at it and says like this is the way to nurture yourself. You cannot move, you cannot forgive this, you cannot heal this if you go about it in any other kind of journey, right? This is the journey in order to move past this, right? So your soul knows the way, and this is the way, you could say. So listen to whatever this may be for you, right? Whatever unusual journey you need to be on, like be on this unusual journey, because that's how you are actually going to be healing this. So maybe you want to give your soul what your soul needs right now, instead of giving to other people, because maybe you have already given them way too much, perhaps, right? It's possible that there is a disbalance there. At the bottom of the deck, we got recovery from an illness, which is also like what does this card pertain to? It also show you. So these mushrooms to me talk about a time in which I ate a lot of antibiotic containing foods alongside regular antibiotics, right? To give it a bit even more of a boost, I guess. And there was something about like I was able to recover from an illness from by eating a massive amount of natural antibiotic containing foods. So like garlic and mushrooms and onions, I believe, like all of these things. Like I ate them in massive amounts, and I was able to heal as a result of that. So this is also quite an unconventional wisdom, I guess. It's like just trusting your own self, also in terms of food. Like guide yourself, maybe as well here, right? Guide yourself with your wisdom when it comes to food, for example, right? Maybe there is a reason why people like usually like healing through food is not considered to be a good idea, right? But there is a reason why people heal through food, for example, right? So that it could be a wisdom that when if you only apply it very rarely, that it could actually be a good thing to do, right? So there's something about that it could help you recover from something. So let's see. And the other at the bottom of the deck is the Ace of Wands. So this is following inspirations. So yeah, follow your inspirations in order to recover from uh, from a hurt or an illness, right? Like listen to your own inspiration when it comes to this, your own inner wisdom, even if it doesn't make sense and if it's not the conventional way of going about things, right? So I'm wishing you a very beautiful day ahead, and bye bye.